new series brings a new game, and this time the series was bent on Omniverse. If you ask me, this show was the most radically different from UAF and Classic, but at the same time tried to stick to what UAF and Classic already set up. Now, this game is based on the first 2 seasons of OV, and personally I think those are the most drastically different compared to the rest of the show, as it still feels like it's got a lot of the UAF hangovers. Of course, having the first episode written by Dwayne McDuffie himself didn't help those ideas, but with that being said, the malware arc is one of my favourites as well as feedback, but is the game any good? Let's find out! The plot of this game is a fucking nightmare as it involves time travel, that great classical storytelling medium that definitely hasn't thrown stories out the window. The story begins with Ben and Rook training in the training area of the Plymouth headquarters, while Blue Kitch and Dreamer attempt to fix the Omnitrix's issue of never giving Ben the right alien. However, while doing this, they accidentally mess with the timing system of the Omnitrix and send Rook 5 years into the past. When there, Rook comes across young Ben, who is fighting malware. However, malware from the past absorbs the proto-tool, allowing him to change the very essence of any technology he absorbs. This becomes a problem when Rook is sent back to the future and finds out about morphic generators that create holograms. If malware is able to get his hands on one of these, he's going to be able to change inert matter itself, meaning he'll be able to create anything from anything. Obviously, Ben and Rook can't have that, so throughout the story they try in various ways to stop him. But the eventual plan they come up with is having the malware of the past and the present merge together to erase them both from the timeline. To do this, Rook must travel from the past to the future, and must team up with young and present Ben to stop the malwares, and to bring them together, to merge them together to make this never happen. Except from Rook and Ben, who still remember everything. Nobody else does though. So in terms of plot, this plot is fairly simple, yet it's still complex considering it is a time travel story. Now the reason it's a time travel story is to do with the gameplay, but in terms of how the story is done here, I think it's fine. Yeah, not bad, not good, I think it's just fine. Ben and Rook are written pretty in character, and everybody else who shows up is usually written pretty well in character. But the issue is the story bounces around a lot, and sometimes when Rook time travels we see, and sometimes when he does, we don't see. But like I said, the plot does have to revolve around the gameplay, so what is that gameplay like? So, the gameplay of this game takes more after Protector of Earth and Alien Force won the game rather than Vilgax Attacks and Cosmic Destruction. Now, I'd be fine with that if this game wasn't developed by Monkey Bars Games, who also developed Alien Force, the game, my least favourite Ben 10 game I've played so far. Now, the big issue is that this feels like a game that's built on the backbone of Alien Force, the game. However, it does try some new things, like letting you have access to 10 aliens at once. But since both past and present Ben both have their own exclusive aliens, there's 13 aliens this time. The issue is only about 8 of them actually matter to the gameplay, so aliens like Heat Blast and Diamond Head don't do shit. Another issue with the gameplay is that since this gameplay is meant to be multiplayer, you have a partner character in Rook. Rook's character AI is stupider than me in the 3rd grade. Now, what's the problem with this? Enemies are bullet sponges and require both of you to attack them constantly in order to do any real damage. Special moves drain the special move meter faster than they really should be. And the levels here are extremely long. These levels go on for 40 minutes at a time. And whereas I could excuse them before, I can't excuse them here because there's nothing really going on. There's also a ton of reused assets, as the first level shows you about 50% of the assets that are used throughout the entire game. Again, I could excuse this, I get it, the game was rushed out to meet the launch title of the Wii U, something like that. But the issue is that, well, it doesn't really make this game stand out as having anything to call its own. It has the plumber base, Bellwood, a construction site, and like 2 or 3 other areas, but that's it. And that can make the gameplay feel a lot more repetitive and just boring than it should be. This is something that Protector of Earth managed to get away with because of its constant enemy variety. But in this game, there are only about 5 different variations of enemies. There's the malware enemies, the animal enemies, the Vreedles for some reason, which are just regular enemies and not boss fights anymore. Oops. And then other miscellaneous enemies. You can't fill an entire beat 'em up game with the same 5 enemies and call it good. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that the gameplay of this game is just fine. I mean, the alien selecting mechanic is a little off since you have to hold a D-pad button to change the alien to whichever one you need. And since some aliens are more useful than others, you want to have a constant stream of the good aliens, but other aliens are more powerful than the ones that you want to use the more, so it's just a whole mess. And again, Rook's character AI is fucking stupid, but I could understand it because this was meant to be a Wii U launch title, and it was very much rushed out to be relevant when Omniverse was coming out, because as we all know, Cartoon Network heavily fucked over Omniverse, but we can get into that in the next game. So, what's the presentation like? Presentation-wise, this game's alright. It tries to mimic the OV art style and does a decent enough job at it. And thanks to the constant linear camera that's focused on just Ben and Rook, the game can have a stable frame rate. And any console that isn't the Wii. Because just take a look at the Wii here, it has several issues, like Wild not having 2 Omnitrix symbols and Arctiguana having multiple Omnitrix symbols at any given time. There's a probably issue of the game was rushed out, because this game was very much rushed, as can be shown in the animation department. Because there are 2 or 3 cutscenes with actual animation, and the rest of them just has the same reuse of character animations. Again, the game was rushed. I could excuse this if it wasn't for the fact this was the big new Ben 10 game. And being a launch title for the Wii U definitely didn't help with the other launch titles that are coming out around that time. So, overall, is this a good game? If you ask me, this is, in fact, a game. I know I used that joke in the last episode, but let me have this. Being serious here for a minute. This game is one that I just can't be bothered going back to. It isn't like the next one that infuriates me, and it isn't like the other ones that make me really happy. This one just balls me. And like I said in Alien Force, that's the worst thing a game can do. Be boring. Because with a bad game, you'll remember it. With a boring game, you'll forget it. And this brings me to my ultimate conclusion of the Monkey Bar trilogy of Ben 10 games that show that they don't get Ben 10 because it doesn't feel like they do. Alien Force the game was all over the place with storytelling and the gameplay. Galactic Racing was a mess of you trying to race Ben's aliens, but also having other characters like Kevin and Vilgax there that broke that illusion. And this is just boring. I don't feel like this is a Ben 10 game. I feel like this is a generic 3D beat 'em up that you could slap Ben 10 in and sell. Who knows, maybe that's what they ended up doing. But I don't know. At least it's still better than the next game we're going to take a look at, Ben 10 Omniverse 2. I can say that much, because Omniverse 2 fucking sucks. But we can get there when we get there. Until then, take care. Bye.